WP, recently the magical girl's effectiveness has been declining. Under this circumstances we've been using a few leftover women in their 30s and the effectiveness skyrocketed and we can't explain why. Recently the magical girl's effectiveness has been declining. Under this circumstances we've been using a few leftover women in their 30s and the effectiveness skyrocketed and we can't explain why. Charlie had been typing at her desk, working on the last quarterly report when Brody had come over with her open wondering. In the seconds after the latter had finished the question, the typing slowed, stopped, and then restarted to finish her sentence. Finally satisfied with where she was leaving it, Charlie looked up at the woman sitting on the corner of her desk in the middle of MG Universe Protection's head office. Pardon? Yeah, everyone over in creative is confused too, Brody said as she began looking at her phone. Can't figure out what to do about it. What to do about it? Yeah, I mean, the metrics make no sense. Can't mess with the numbers, legal would eat us, but I don't want to have to explain the blip to the DM. I don't think I'm following. Look, the AGM was saying that the GM was already disappointed with this quarter, so I didn't want to go in there and start telling her boss that. Brody. That we fucked all our data for the quarter. Brody. Heard you the first time. Was just finishing my sentence. What? Why aren't we using adults? Brody looked up from her phone for a moment and frowned. We have an age range we target. Why? I don't know. Brody waved a hand. Ask someone in HR about the policy. We're using temps right now so it's fine, but you know. Were adults always an option? Maybe? Charlie stood up from her desk, which was enough to turn several heads. Does anyone here know why we use teenagers? We have for years, Sandra said from the other side of the open concept office space. That's not an answer, Charlie said. Watch out everyone before you end up on another one of her teams, Rena piped up from her space outside the break room. Rude. Charlie, she's not wrong. Magical redistribution was a disaster, Brody said. What are you getting at anyway? You're being loud. If there's nothing stopping us, Charlie said, why aren't we sending adults to fight our battles? Were we allowed to do this the whole time? Brody answered. Probably, but like we've been using. Brody, do you know how many burnt-out Type A gifties there are in each city? Charlie slammed back down into her seat and started typing. The rest of the room went back to their work and let her head into another one of her whirlwinds. Char. They have perfection complexes so massive that they're never going to be late. None of them are going to waste missions thinking about boys, half of them are lesbians. Half? Maybe a third. The point is, Brody, if we can give those girls unlimited magical potential, we have access to the most powerful source of evil fighting in the galaxy. So you're making a proposal. I'm making a proposal. I'll make the cover page in Canva so. Brody went back to her phone. You just realized you were describing yourself, didn't you? Lovely presentation. No. What? Charlie gasped from the front of the mahogany and black iron boardroom of MG Universe Protection. Behind her, the last slide of her Canva designed and Prezi implemented slide deck was projected on the wall in all its efficient but aesthetic glory. The silence hung in the air as Charlie stared down at the DG in front of her Vanderbilt, one of the 5 eldritch entities at the head of MGUP, and the one she'd thought would be the most receptive to the idea. Vanderbilt cocked his head as he watched her, his movements were uncannily perfect. What do you mean? Charlie asked once the silence had dragged on too long. No means no. HR assured me everyone here knew that. I know that. Great. I said no. How can you say no? Because I am not signing off on. Did you see this? Charlie waved at the presentation behind her. Did you see these metrics? I did. These women could raise our overall effectiveness by 97%. We could completely replace filler arcs with more. I listened to your presentation, Charlie. No. I know it's not how we did things before, but we can't just. Vanderbilt shot up, and the movement alone was enough to cut Charlie off. He approached, just a little too tall to be human. Charlie, you don't get it. The answer is no. Charlie clutched her cue cards to her chest, making herself small, but she didn't move. You're not leaving without an explanation. Are you? Charlie considered the job market for a moment, and then shook her head. Vanderbilt sighed. With a wave of his hand, Charlie's presentation vanished. My refusal doesn't come from the numbers, Charlie. At least not the way you think. The numbers are staggering. The numbers are the problem. Vanderbilt turned away from Charlie but continued speaking. You have the right idea, suggesting that category of women. They are nearly as eager to please for meager reward as they were in their teen years. But. The but seemed to drag on forever. Maybe it did. They, unlike our teenagers, have a chance to gain awareness of their situation and advocate for themselves. It's unlikely, but it's a possibility. So we. MGUP cannot limit the magic we provide someone with. It's all or nothing. Every one of these women would have infinite magical ability. That's the. So what happens when they read enough self-help books and discover boundaries? What happens when the girls start saying no? No means no. But the universe is at stake. So you find someone who won't say no, Charlie. Vanderbilt turned back to her. We don't choose teenagers because they are optimal regarding execution. We choose teenage girls because they are malleable. You mean? Charlie wasn't cut off this time. She faded away. You can say it, we're all on the same team here. We abuse them into working for us. There you go. And you're worried that an adult might stand up for themselves and not take part. Correct again. That's fucked. There are universes at stake, Charlie. We can't afford to give this magic to someone who might get their shit together. But that's no Charlie, back to that report before this line of questioning follows you for longer than you'd like. We? Charlie. Yes, sir.